They say no good deed goes unpunished, but that philosophy hits harder when you willingly invite two down and outs into your home and they decide to repay you back by holding you hostage and torturing you in some truly shocking, inhumane ways, and in your own home at that. So two drug addicts, 44-year-old Michael Rowbotham and 39-year-old Natalie Wightman, along with the victim, had been partaking in a drug binge of the most epic proportion that included £200 worth of heroin. Now, we all know drugs shared among drug addicts can lead to a crap storm of problems. For example, one person can do more drugs than the other person. There can also be suspicion or jealousy or mocking when it comes to the effect of drugs entering the bloodstream, that euphoric high. More so, people tend to blabber on, and it quickly turns into a he said, she said situation that then can quickly escalate into a full-blown argument. And then there's the classic theft of drugs split three ways, and ironically, that's what happened. So, during the midst of the session at roughly 10 p.m, drug addicts Michael and Natalie went into the bedroom to do whatever crackheads do in the midst of a drug binge. Upon their return, they accused the flat owner and victim of stealing their drugs, their heroin. Manchester Minshull Crown Court heard how the couple lunged at the victim in a fit of rage and began to strip him naked. They then tied his feet together with a cable and used a belt to bound his hands together. In all seriousness, these are three people that had their own personal problems, and being a drug addict means you endure hardship, but the victim was a functioning drug addict capable of maintaining a flat and keeping himself fed and sheltered. He also showed compassion to two people whom were homeless, hence why he let them stay at his place in the first place. So what if he stole some drugs? Just consider it rent. The fact is, people who partake in plentiful amounts of drugs share various shifts of emotions. They experience rage, anger, sorrow, basically irritable mood swings that may not be warranted. After Michael and Natalie tied up their victim, again for the fifth time, inside his own home, they were shouting him to, and I quote, admit it, and then the couple turned nasty. They tortured him, and when I say torture, I really do mean they used some damn right sadistic torture practices. The court heard Michael and Natalie hit the victim in the kneecaps with a hammer and used a knife to slash him in the left shin. They also burnt the soles of his feet with a lighter for added measure. Also remember, the victim was bound at his arms and legs too. At some point during the assault, while accosting the victim to admit that he stole some of the heroin, Natalie heated up an iron and pressed it to the victim's cheek. Once she was satisfied, she then took that same hot iron and pushed it onto the top right leg and pressed the hot plate onto his flesh. As if this ordeal wasn't bad enough, they then dragged the victim into a store cupboard that doubles up as a cloakroom or storage cupboard or whatever you call it inside your home or flat, and told him to reflect on his actions and to have a think about what he was going to tell them once they let him out, the court was told. It is understood the victim was in a store cupboard for at least 1 hour. This is all the while he is bleeding and his skin is blistering from the burns. After the cupboard action, the victim admitted he took the drugs. This was not because he was guilty. This omission was made because he just couldn't take it anymore. The victim's solicitor says the victim really did believe he was going to die that evening on February 13th. Once the victim admitted he stole the drugs, the torture was over, just like that, as if it had never taken place in the first place. Michael and Natalie untied him and left him whilst they went to bed. While Michael and Natalie slept soundlessly, content that they had uncovered quote-unquote the truth, the victim made a run for it and tried to seek help at a nearby shop. His feet were so badly injured that he could barely walk. This was made even more unbearable due to the slash to his left shin and the iron burn mark to the top of his right leg. The victim was taken to Tameside Hospital where he was treated for burns on the soles of his feet, slash marks on his foot, cuts to his knees, burn marks to his leg and a severe burn to his cheek. He also suffered 3 slash marks to his legs which were cut so deep that he needed surgery. As you can imagine, the extensiveness of the victim's injuries have led to social anxiety, amongst other complications. In the victim impact statement that was read out during the court proceedings, the man says, "My head is completely gone. I am scared to leave my front door. I am worried about the repercussions of talking to the police. I have permanent scars on my body and I have scars on my face which I see every time I look in the mirror. I didn't deserve any of this. They were homeless and I let them stay at my flat and this is how they repaid me." Michael Rowbotham of Wilmslow Road, Fallowfield, was jailed for 9 years after admitting an offence of false imprisonment and Section 18 wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. Natalie Wightman of no fixed address was jailed for 7 years and 6 months after pleading guilty to the same charges as her drug addict counterparts. Michael's defence attorney did try to do damage control, giving an excuse for his mental state being because he had 90% of his colon removed, aided with the fact that he was made homeless, had lost contact with his family, and had lost all self-respect. As for Natalie Wightman's defence attorney, they went with the angle that since she's been arrested, she has entered a methadone reduction programme, and that she is hell-bent on fixing this addiction, as Wightman realises that if she doesn't conquer her drug addiction, she could end up dead. She has also apologised to the victim. Again, the drug addict couple and the victim were not friends. The victim had extended his hospitality to strangers because they were down on their luck, and they repay him by leaving permanent reminders in the way of scars across his body. Whenever he looks in the mirror, the victim will remember they put a burning hot iron to the side of his face. Therefore, that apology means absolutely nothing. Safe.